Have you ever felt that bottomless kind of emptiness? That sensation that even when you're surrounded by people, something essential is missing? And then someone looks at you and says, with absolute certainty, you just need to love yourself more. Take care of yourself. Go to the salon, get a massage, write pretty quotes on your mirror. Once you truly love yourself, this neediness will go away. And you tried. God knows how hard you tried. You invested in yourself. You took care of your body. You filled your home with positive affirmations. You repeated 1,000 times that you are enough, that you're amazing, that you deserve all good things. But the emptiness, it stayed. Stubborn, persistent, painful. And then came the guilt. Why doesn't this work for me? What's wrong with me? Do I not even know how to love myself properly? Take a deep breath, because the problem is not you. The problem is the promise you were given. This idea that self-love, in its most superficial form, cures emotional hunger. It's one of the biggest emotional myths we carry. And you know what's worse? It can actually make things worse. Because while you're trying to convince yourself you're wonderful, your heart keeps screaming that this is not what it needs. Neediness is not a lack of self-esteem. You don't heal neediness with mirror compliments or spa days. Its root goes much deeper. And that root, my love, is in attachment or in the absence of it. Today, I'm going to show you why that magical formula never worked for you. I'll explain what's really happening behind this emotional hunger that never seems to go away. And most importantly, I'll give you a real, possible, human path to begin healing this for real. You don't need to love yourself more. You need to understand yourself better. And that changes everything. This is another Headspace Talk. Let's walk through this together. Let's start with what no one tells you. Neediness is one of the most persistent emotional pains that exists. And there's a very specific reason for that. It's not because you're weak. It's not because you don't try hard enough. It's because we've been confusing the diagnosis. When you feel needy, it's not worth that's missing. It's connection. It's the sense of safe emotional bonding with another person. It's knowing, deep down, that someone won't disappear when you need them the most. And that, my love, is completely different from self-esteem. Self-esteem tells you, I'm good at this. I'm beautiful. I'm smart. I matter. And yes, that's important. But do you know what happens when you build your emotional safety on performance? When you fail, and everyone fails eventually, the whole structure collapses because self-esteem requires you to be at your best. And no one can be at their best all the time. Neediness doesn't care how many achievements you have. It doesn't care if you're successful, funny, or admired. Neediness is screaming something completely different. I need to know I won't be alone in my pain. I need to feel that someone will stay, even when I'm not shining. And that's why you can have everything, beauty, success, recognition, and still feel that emptiness. Because the emptiness isn't about who you are. It's about how you feel when you're alone. It's about the safety you didn't get back then, when you needed it most. So before we go on, I need you to hear this clearly. Your neediness is not a character flaw. It's not being dramatic. It's not because you're too clingy, too needy, too dependent. It's a learned survival response. And like any learned response, it can be changed. Now, let's talk about what happens inside your mind when neediness kicks in. Because what you feel is real, but what you think about what you feel might be making it worse. When no one is around, when the person you love feels distant, or when you're single, a voice starts talking inside you, and it is not kind. It's harsh, judgmental, cruel. It says things like, "You're too much. No one can handle you. That's why no one stays. You're going to die alone." That voice, it's not the truth about you. It's the echo of an old pattern. It's the emotional memory from when you were a child and needed safety but didn't get it. When you cried and no one came. When you needed affection and found absence instead. When the love you received was inconsistent, unpredictable, conditional. A child's brain is simple. If love doesn't show up when she needs it, she doesn't think the adults are overwhelmed or they have their own wounds. She thinks there's something wrong with me, I'm not worth caring for. And that thought becomes a belief, deep, rooted, carried into adulthood. Even if logically you know you're a valuable person, this belief still whispers. But am I lovable when I'm not performing, when I'm not pretty, cheerful, available? That's why affirmations don't work unless you rewrite this inner narrative first. Because while you say, I love myself, another part of you is thinking, but who else will love me? What if I end up alone forever? Neediness isn't just a feeling, it's a story you tell yourself. And that story needs to be rewritten. Here's the turning point. No one taught you what heals neediness is not self-esteem. What heals neediness is self-compassion. And there is a massive difference between the two. Self-esteem says, I'm great, I'm strong, I deserve the best. But what about when you're not great? What about when you fail? What about when you're on the floor, broken, exhausted? Self-esteem abandons you in those moments. Because it only works when you're doing well. It's conditional. Self-compassion. It shows up exactly when you're on the floor. It doesn't wait for you to fix yourself. It doesn't require you to look presentable. It sits beside you in the mess, in the pain, in the chaos, and says, I know it hurts. I know you're suffering. And it's okay. Your pain is valid. You don't need to be perfect to deserve kindness. You don't need to earn compassion. You already deserve it, simply because you exist, simply because you're trying. Self-compassion is the ability to be gentle with yourself precisely in moments of pain and failure. It's looking at your wound without turning away. It's recognizing the scared child inside you and saying, I see you, I understand you, and I'm not leaving. When you feel that wave of neediness rising, that desperation to text someone who treats you poorly, that urge to beg for scraps of attention, that need to prove you still matter to someone who barely sees you, self-compassion invites you to pause, to breathe, to place your hand on your heart, feel the warmth of your own palm, and say, I'm suffering right now. And this suffering has a reason. Not because I'm weak, not because I'm too needy, but because an old wound is being activated. Because the child inside me is scared. And when you do this, you give yourself the validation you never received. You become the safe presence you always needed. Not through performance, not by pretending everything's fine, but by honoring your own pain and choosing not to punish yourself for it. That is forgiveness. Forgiveness for every time you begged. For every time you crawled back to someone who didn't deserve you. For every time you accepted less because loneliness felt worse than crumbs. For believing again and again that you needed to earn love to deserve it. You were doing the best you could with the emotional tools you had. You were trying to survive with the resources of a wounded child. And now you're learning new tools. You're giving yourself the chance to rebuild everything gently, differently, kindly. Healing neediness doesn't happen all at once. It's not a magical insight that changes everything overnight. Healing happens in small gestures, in micro-choices, in promises you make to yourself and actually keep. The biggest issue for someone who struggles with neediness: trust. Not only trust in others, though that's part of it, but trust in yourself. The sense that you can't rely on yourself to be okay when alone. So how do you rebuild that trust? With what I call micro-bonds, tiny rituals, tiny promises you make and keep every single day. It can be simple. I'll make my bed every morning. I'll drink a glass of water as soon as I wake up. I'll walk for 10 minutes a day. I'll write 3 things I'm grateful for before bed. It seems silly, doesn't it? Too small to matter, but it's not. Because every time you keep a promise to yourself, you teach your subconscious something revolutionary. I can rely on myself. I show up for myself. I don't abandon myself. You prove, one small action at a time, that you are the one person who will never leave you. No matter what happens, you are there with yourself. Always. This creates something powerful, an internal sense of safety. A sense that even if everyone else turns away, you still have you. And that is everything. It's the foundation of emotional stability. It's the beginning of a real relationship with yourself, not based on idealization or empty motivational quotes, but on consistent presence and reliability. Celebrate your small wins. Honor each promise you keep. Not to fake positivity, not to pretend everything is fine, but because you're literally rebuilding your emotional foundation. Brick by brick, gesture by gesture, day by day. You're becoming the person who never abandons you. And one day, you'll realize that desperate hunger for someone beside you has softened. Not because you no longer want companionship. Of course you do. We all do. But because now you know that even when you're alone, you're safe. There's a cruel trap people with neediness fall into again and again, and you've probably fallen into it too. It's the trap of the emotionally unavailable person. You know that guy or girl who comes and goes, who ghosts you, who replies when they feel like it and ignores you when they don't, who gives you attention when they're bored and drops you when something better appears, who makes you feel special one day and invisible the next, who keeps you guessing, hoping, waiting. And do you know why you're drawn to that kind of person? Because your unconscious recognizes the pattern. It's as if it says, oh yes, this love I know. Love is insecurity. Love is unpredictability. Love is something I have to fight for. I have to prove I'm worthy. Finally, a familiar bond. So you go into fight mode. You believe that if you try hard enough, if you prove your worth, if you're patient, understanding, available, they'll finally choose you. And when they do, it will fill that lifelong emptiness. But they don't. And they won't. Because what you're trying to do is not find love. You're trying to reenact an old wound, hoping for a different ending. It's like going back to your childhood, trying once more to earn the consistent love you never received. But you're not a child anymore, and this person is not responsible for healing your inner child. No matter how hard you fight, the ending will be the same: empty, rejected, unseen. The love you deserve is not a love that must be earned. Not a love you have to beg for, not a love that leaves you in doubt. The love you deserve is calm, safe, predictable in the best sense of the word. Predictable because it is consistent. But to attract and recognize that love, you first need to create safety within yourself. Because as long as you operate from the wound, you'll keep choosing people who reopen it. So next time you feel that magnetic pull toward someone emotionally unavailable, pause, breathe, and ask yourself, am I being drawn to love or to familiarity? Is this person offering me safety or triggering my old fight pattern? You deserve more than crumbs. You deserve more than proving your worth. This isn't arrogance, it's self. Do you know what neediness does to you? It steals you from the present. It throws you into the past, back to the child who wasn't loved enough, and drags you into the future, into the fear of being alone forever. But it never lets you be here, now. And the present is where your safety actually is. Because right now, in this exact moment, you are okay. Maybe not happy, maybe sad, lonely, tired, but okay in the most fundamental sense. You're breathing, you're alive, you're surviving, your heart is beating, your body is supporting you. And that's a lot. That's everything. Neediness makes you believe you can't handle being alone, that loneliness will destroy you, that you urgently need someone to complete you. But that's a story your fear tells you, and it's not true. The truth is, you are already alone, and you're handling it. Maybe not easily, maybe with struggle, but you're here. You didn't disappear. You didn't fall apart. You're enduring more than you think. So when neediness hits, come back to the present. Come back to your body, to your breath. Put your feet on the ground. Feel the weight of your body, the solidity beneath you. Breathe slowly. Inhale for 4, hold for 4. Exhale for 6, and ask yourself, in this exact moment, what do I need? Not 5 years from now, not tomorrow, not when I meet someone. Now, what do I need right now? Sometimes what you need is a hug. So hug yourself. Wrap your arms around your own body, as if holding a scared child. Rock gently. Does it feel strange? Maybe, but it works. Because your brain doesn't differentiate much between being hugged by someone else and hugging yourself. It recognizes the gesture. It feels the warmth, the pressure, the containment, and it responds with the same soothing chemicals a real hug would release. Other times, you need distraction, something to pull you out of the anxious spiral. Walk, cook, listen to music, call a friend, watch something light. This is not avoidance. It's you taking responsibility for your emotional experience instead of letting neediness drive. And sometimes what you need is simply to feel the pain without trying to escape it. To cry if you need to cry. To acknowledge the sadness, the loneliness, the fear. And that's okay. You don't need to be strong all the time. You don't need to distract yourself or pretend you're fine. Sometimes you just need to let the emotion pass through you like a wave. It rises, peaks, hurts, and then it goes. It always goes. No emotion lasts forever, not even the painful ones. They are temporary, like clouds in the sky. And you are the sky. You remain. The present is where your power is. Where you can decide not to send that message. Not to call someone who doesn't value you. Not to beg for crumbs. Where you can choose, breath by breath, to treat yourself with dignity. So let's recap everything we've built together, because it's important that you leave this talk with clarity and hope. Neediness is not about not loving yourself enough. It's about an insecure attachment pattern created long ago when you were vulnerable and needed consistency but didn't receive it. It's about your inner child still waiting for someone to show up. And your adult self needing, finally, to take the lead. Traditional self-love affirmations, beauty rituals, aesthetic self-care doesn't fix it, because it focuses on worth, performance, image. And neediness is not about that. It's about connection, emotional safety, knowing, deep down, that you won't be abandoned in pain. The answer isn't inflating your self-esteem. The answer is cultivating self-compassion, being gentle with yourself in your hardest moments, recognizing your pain without judgment, validating your scared inner child while allowing your adult self to make wiser decisions. You need to build trust with yourself. Tiny promises you keep every day. Small gestures that teach your subconscious that you won't abandon yourself. That you are finally the consistent presence you always needed. And you need to stop reenacting the past. Stop being drawn to unavailable people, hoping this time will be different. Stop confusing familiarity with love. Real love doesn't make you fight. Doesn't leave you doubting. Real love is calm, safe, present. Your neediness won't disappear overnight. It will come back, especially in moments of stress, loneliness, rejection. And that's okay. It's not about eliminating neediness. It's about not letting it drive your life. It's about having the tools to soothe it without destroying yourself in the process. You can be okay on your own. Not because you don't need anyone, of course you do, but because you learned to give yourself the basic safety the world didn't give you. And that changes everything. So next time neediness knocks on your door, don't blame yourself. Don't judge yourself. Simply put a hand on your heart, take a deep breath, and gently ask, what is my inner child asking for right now? And what can my adult self offer with love and with boundaries? Listen, I know this isn't easy. I know you've tried so many things in so many ways, and nothing seemed to work. But maybe, just maybe, you were trying to solve the wrong problem. You were trying to convince yourself of your worth when what you really needed was to feel safe. And safety doesn't come from achievements, doesn't come from external validation, doesn't come from being chosen. Safety comes from within, from becoming the person who doesn't abandon you. From keeping the small promises you make to yourself, from choosing breath by breath to treat yourself with dignity. Neediness is a wound, but wounds can heal. And you have everything you need to start healing today. Not all at once, not perfectly, but slowly, with patience, compassion, and the courage to look inside and say, I see you, I understand you, and I won't abandon you. So, before we say goodbye, I want to leave you with a question. A question for you to carry with you in the next few days. If you knew, with absolute certainty, that you would never be abandoned again, not by yourself, not by the people who truly matter, how would you live differently starting today? And of course, If you want to keep walking this journey with me, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Here at Headspace Talks, we learn together how to transform pain into strength and silence into healing.